the cause with the president, with the office of the president, for them to scout for a new chairman, which was done. But because of these payments, he revoked the appointment of Mr. Akebayo at the time as chairman of the board, and appointed Mr. Samba because he was of the view that I was not compliant, or maybe I was causing unnecessary delays in some of the directives that I received from him. So frankly speaking, I didn't have the courage, and because they were highly confidential, to discuss the issue with the board.
You didn't have the courage to discuss it with the board?
Yes, because when he learned that, he didn't even bother to find out from me whether we have already effected payments. He just rescinded the appointment of my chairman and put in Mr. Samba. And when I asked him why was that, he said, you know, you and Mr. Samba do not get along, so therefore he was just going to...
Sorry, when you asked him, he said what?
He said, I and Mr. Samba do not get along.
I am?
He said, I and Mr. Samba do not get along easily. We are not best of friends. So
and you and Mr. Samba don't get along. You are not the best of friends. Therefore
he's bringing him back to the board, so that he'll be able to supervise some of these things where, because we have reviewed that I was not complying quickly. That happened because we received a letter to that effect.
You received a letter?
To that effect, yes, rescinding the chairmanship of Mr. Akebayo and putting in Mr. Samba to work with me.
This letter is where?
No, I'm sorry, if they check in the files of the Social Security, maybe. But I think there was a time the letter was written.
Where this loan?
When I was there, maybe it was at the time these submissions were on.
Sorry, we are having difficulty. When you were there?
When I was there, yes.
Sorry, what happened when you were there? What did you say just now?
If my memory serves me right, he rescinded the decision of appointing Mr. Akebayo as chairman.
Okay.
And replaced him with Mr. Samba.
So are you saying these loans were discussed with Mr. Samba?
No, they were not discussed with Mr. Samba. What I'm saying, because of the magnitude, if you look at the risk requests, the amount of money involved was so huge, and they come once at a time. And I was of the view that, you know, I was just trying to see what way can be found, because I was not comfortable in honoring the submissions most of the time. What I'm trying to say is, because of the delays, they were not delays actually, but I really felt uncomfortable to even though I did so, to be effecting huge payments on behalf of NAWEC to the International Islamic Finance Company. And because of the undue delay that he felt was caused by me, he quickly revoked the appointment of the chairmanship of Mr. Akebayo and replaced with Mr. Samba. It took some time for me to convince him that, you know, if he does that, he'll be violating the Social Security Act, because the Act clearly said that you can serve as chairman of the Social Security for 2 3-year term, 6 years.
For 2 3-year terms?
Yes, and Mr. Samba has already done that. So it will not be good to bring him back, because otherwise he'll be violating the Act. And then he has to rescind the decision. And I also told him that it is not true to say that I did not effect payments. I did. But I think at that time, you know, there were some people who were floating the idea that we should borrow money from the Trust Bank to effect these payments, which I thought at the time was not correct. Because if you had done so, it means the Trust Bank would have levied high interest rates on the loans. So for me, we had some deposits at the Trust Bank. It would have been better if we effect those payments from our deposits rather than taking money from the Trust Bank. When I explained this to him, then he told me that, okay, I'm sorry, I was misled by some people, that you were refusing to effect these payments.
But by then you had really effected almost $700 million worth from the National Provident Fund.
Yes, Your Honor, because didn't have, there was no option for me but to do so, Your Honor. Because I thought the office of the president was breathing down on my neck to do that.
You call it mind-boggling. I don't know what others call it, but this was a significant, very substantial part of the pension fund that was handed over on instructions from Office of the President, Ministry of Finance. Was there any discussion in the equation about the impact this would have on the ability of the corporation to carry out its mandate, which has nothing to do with the government?
I can't recollect. I know that I called a management meeting. I think the Director of Finance.
Sorry, say that again.
I said there was an instance where I summoned a meeting between myself and the Director of Finance and the Deputy Managing Director to discuss the impact that these fee payments might cause to the Fund of Social Security.
Who was the head of finance at the time?
Mr. Abdullah Cham.
Mr. Abdullah Cham.
Yes, we discussed the issue, but the mindful that these were directives from the Office of the President, and bear in mind that all of them sense the President was really angry with me for not effecting payments quickly enough. I think there was fear that we had no choice but to effect the payments. I don't know. I don't have any evidence now, but I thought there are instances where I used to write and mention to OP that the Fund of Social Security doesn't necessarily belong to the Gambia government, but it belongs to the people of the Gambia. I don't know. If I didn't write, I think there are occasions where I would touch on some of these things, just perhaps to provide some little bit of education to him, for him to understand that these are monies that doesn't belong to government, but to the pensioners. But it has always been very difficult because maybe if the organization culture was such that we were forced to honor whatever that is we are from the Office of the President, Minister of Finance. It will always be very difficult for someone to launch a personal crusade against what I felt was not correct.
Mr. Chairman, these are the 3 transactions concerning this witness from Social Security. There are questions I wish to ask him on ports, but you might have questions for him on Social Security before I move on to those questions. Can you collect the documents, please?
Mr. Jiba, before coming to this commission, did you know that the funds under trust at the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation do not belong to the government of the Gambia, and that the OP had no say in it?
Frankly speaking, I agree with you, Your Honor. The funds do not belong to the government of the Gambia or OP. They belong to the government people, government employees who are working, and out of their pension, they expect, a good pension benefit package from Social Security to them. The money doesn't belong to the OP, neither even the government.
The answer is yes.
Yes, I agree with you, Your Honor.
Did the Office of the President know that they had no say in the management of the funds and ignored that fact, still went ahead to request you to give out loans? Did you tell them? Did you educate them clearly? Was there any doubt from your interaction with them? Yeah? Was there any doubt that they didn't understand this?
In my discussion, in my private discussion with the president, which were always very difficult, when I went to Social Security, I did explain to him that I'm not comfortable with the idea of government using funds of Social Security for whatever purpose.
That's not my question.
No.
Your interaction with the office of the president. What you discussed with Mr. Cham was internal.
No, I'm not saying I said with the president.
Okay, with the president.
Yes, I'll try to engage him in the discussion. It has been difficult to demonstrate to him that the fund of Social Security does not necessarily belong to government. It belongs to the employees. Some of them are private, working in the banks, in Toronto, and other places.
Did you say that for Social Security Act, you cannot ask us to loan money to Kanilai Farms? Did you say that to him?
I did not say that to him because I'm not so, well, I wouldn't say he was not respecter of the law, but if it was better for me to leave the legal aspects and try to engage him in a discussion where I feel because when you start quoting the act, he may, to me, among the video, he may deem you are speaking with authority, you are drawing inference from the law. So I could talk to him, and maybe.
This wasn't about even the law. This was about knowledge of what the funds are meant for. So
I try to educate him, but not necessarily invoking the law as my point of advice to him.
Okay.
But I did try to engage him in the discussion.
The impression I get, and I could be wrong, so feel free to correct me, is that you as the MD and the finance manager, Mr. Cham, you hijacked the whole process, and between the two of you, you made all the decisions. And this is why only one request was forwarded to the board. Now, can you tell us the exact reasons why you didn't forward it to the board for discussion?
Your Honor, if you know me, I do not run an exclusive management process. I believe in a specific style of management where as national democracy, where top management would meet to discuss issues or matters of great significance to an institution. But the relationship with the president in some of these matters are such that even where you might choose to broaden the scope, to bring in more people to discuss the issues, it might put you in a difficult position because when he says it's strictly confidential, he doesn't want you to involve many people. Bear in mind, if he knows that perhaps it is wrong, you know, for you to act on some of the issues that he has given you. So, if you check most of the things where I have gone wrong, where I have acted unprofessionally, most of the bulk of majority of those cases revolves around the office of the president.
I'm not getting you clearly. I think you are focusing more on the process. I'm looking at the outcome. You get a request, you call the board members, even if it is a standing meeting, or you send somebody to them to say, hey, this is a proposal, what do you think? I am the MD, I'm recommending giving it to them, but I want to know what you think, or make your recommendation. That one takes 5-10 minutes or 24 hours. But what we see is that same day you receive the instructions, same day execution. So that has a little to do with outside influence. I'm talking about internally, referring the thing to management and board. You were supposed to protect the principal. You not only lost interest, you also lost principal. Consecutive loans, all not repaid. You still went ahead. Only one referred to the board. So I'm saying, in a similar manner to the first one that you referred to the board and got approval, what stopped you from repeating that same process? Because that was the right way, not so. Not the two of you, head of finance and managing director.
Sorry, Mr. Sen, that was a different managing director.
Okay, it wasn't him.
It wasn't him that obtained the walkabout resolution.
Okay.
It was Mr. Danso.
Mr. Danso. So that means it was your style to localize it between you and the head of finance? And I asked him, yesterday he was here, he said he was your trusted advisor.
He said what?
I asked him if he were your trusted advisor. He said yes. So meaning he had influence on the final decisions. Because as the head of finance and investment, he was supposed to tell you this is going to result in a loss or in profit, or we have given out money and it's all in default. Why don't we stop?
Your Honor, I was trying to explain. I said when I was deployed to Social Security, in the personal relationships between me and the president had gone sour. The way I had behaved at Social Security was completely different with the former man in which I would have behaved at the Gambia Post Authority. It is true that, as I said, we had acted without submitting the request independently of the board. But I also said we had no choice but to do so because of the calls that we were having from the president. And at that time, I also said I had tried over the past to provide technical and sound advice to the president. But it came to a point where he was no longer listening to me or accepting my advice. So, of course, we had acted unprofessionally and perhaps it is wrong for us to have done that. But we had no choice but to comply.
I have no further questions.
Very well, you may go. Or you want
Sorry,
to...
Mr. Yes, I just want to ask him questions on Gambia Ports Authority. We've collected the documents already. Mr. Jiba, there are two issues relating to Gambia Ports Authority that the current management has brought to the attention of this commission, and these are issues that arose whilst you were there. Firstly, we would like to talk about the ferry Barajali. What can you tell this commission about the ferry Barajali? Do you recollect the ferry? You recollect the Barajali ferry?
Yes.
Yes. What can you tell us about it? We understand from the ports management, just to maybe give you more information, that this ferry was lent out or loaned out using their own language. And it was loaned out when you were there as managing director.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, it's correct. I remember sometime, this was around 2007. Mr. Mohamed Basi did call me to tell me that I should hand over the Barajali ferry to Gambia Petroleum Management as soon as possible. This was in 2007. Then
you should hand over. That you should hand over?
Hand over the Barajali ferry to Gambia Petroleum Management, to him and his team, as soon as possible, because these were directives from the office from the president himself to me. I responded to say that I cannot hand over the ferry to you because the president must have, it may be true that the president did give you those directives for you to tell me, but until and unless I hear from him, I'm not going to hand over the ferry to you. And I think he went back, they wrote, although later on, they wrote to us for the request. But I can remember the president took up the case with me to say that, Mr. Basi did tell him that when he told me to hand over the ferry, he said, Mr. Basi did tell him that I said, I am not going to hand over the ferry to you, even if it was the president himself who made the request on your behalf. I'm not going to give you the ferry.
Who said this to you?
The president did did tell me that.
That Mr. Bazi had told him that
That I said, no, I'm not going to hand over the ferry to him.
even if it was the president
And even if it
himself.
was him, I would not do so. Then I thought about to say, but do you think, do you believe him? Do you think that I can say that? He said, well, I was in there. It was the two of you who were talking. Then I did tell him that what I told Mr. Basi was very clear. He called me on my mobile phone and said that you have instructed that we hand over the ferry to him. And I said, I'm not going to hand over the ferry to him until I hear from the office of the president. And that even so, the request must have to be made in writing.
Even so?
Even if that was the case, I would prefer the office of the president writing to me, directing that I hand over the ferry to them. They did write through one Ibrahima J.T. Kujabi.
Through one?
Ibrahima J.T. Kujabi.
Ibrahima?
J.T. Kujabi. He was working at the ports before.
Ibrahima? Sorry, repeat the name.
Ibrahima J.T. J.T. Kujabi.
Ibrahima Kujabi.
Yep.
A letter from Ibrahima Kujabi. Okay. From Office of the President.
From Office of the President, yes.
And what did that letter say?
I think in that letter, that is where given that we should hand over the Barajali ferry to Gam Petroleum because they had some work to carry out at the Gam Petroleum depot at Madinari, Combo North.
Okay, we'll look for the letter. So what happened after that? Because these are the documents that we have. I'll just give, you can take a look at them. So did you give out the ferry as a result of that letter?
We did, but I did explain to the president that the Barajali ferry is the only ferry at that part of the CRR. It was based, at Jaring and Barajali. And it was carrying passengers and goods and services 3-4 times per week. Because sometimes it has difficulty in attracting, big numbers of passengers and even traffic activities. So that's why we restrict this movement for 3 or 4 days a week. And that the ferry had been moved from Barajali, from Jareng to Banjul for us to carry out periodical repairs and maintenance.
Periodical maintenance?
Yes. And I think after some time he engaged, so he called me back to say that Mr. Basi and team had promised that when they are ready with the Barajali ferry, they will bring in experts and marine engineers from abroad to repair the ferries. I'm going to be honest, I told him that I don't think they would do that. But he said, that's what they promised me and they would do that. So please hand over the ferries to him. And we complied. We handed the ferry to him. After a long time, I started to make inquiries about the ferries because I was of the view that it must have now carried out the tax that it was assigned to. And we came to realize or discover that upon completion of the assignment that it was assigned to have carried through, they did not return the ferry, but even dismembered the ferry.
The ferry had been dismembered?
Yes, Your Honor. So I think from my memory, I engaged them in a discussion. I wrote to them, telling them to return the ferry back to us if at all they had already completed their assignment. And they had not, to my knowledge, I don't think they have responded. They've not been responding.
You wrote to them asking for the ferries back, but they did not respond?
Yes, Your Honor. And I think maybe I've written several letters, 1, 2, or 3. If I memory serves me right, they never responded. I took up the matter with the president. I told him that the ferry that was loaned to Gam Petroleum was never returned to us. And from my inquiries, I was made to understand that the ferry has been dismembered. So we would like to make a claim against Ahmed Bassi and team.
You told the president you would like to make a claim because the ferry had been dismembered.
Yes.
What was his reaction?
At that time, he told me that he will find out. He will talk to them and find out. That's what he told me. And I think after a period of 1 or 2 years, he once called me to say, "What about the ferry, Baragali ferry? Did you hear from these guys?" I said, "No." Then I think he told me that we should value the ferry, and then let me tell him what was the market value at the time. I think which we did. I don't know how much we valued, whether 16 or 19 million, but I remember communicating to him. I'm not sure whether I wrote to him or it was verbal, that the valuation has been done and the ferry market value is either 16 million or 19 million. I cannot get the correct statistics because it's a long time. And he told me that, okay, he would engage Mr. Bassi and others for him to pay us back that money according to the market price value of the ferry.
Did you hear from Mr. Bassi again regarding any compensation?
I've not heard from him. Neither did they pay any compensation to the ports. They did not.
All right. So you gave them the ferry on the understanding that they will return it and restore it?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, because they already told the president, that they would bring in marine engineers to carry out effective repairs of the ferry before they hand over the ferry to us. They never did.
All right, let me have those documents. The other issue I'd like you to clarify relates to the International Milling Corporation, which became the Gambia Milling Corporation. I'll give you this file, which is the ports file. And again, land was given, it appears, to the International Milling Corporation, on which they built their silos. Can you give him this file, please? This is SC10. You were Managing Director, Gambia Ports Authority, when land was made available to the International Milling Corporation.
Yes, Your Honor.
What can you tell this commission about it? Do you know that file? Do you recognize that file? Maybe if you go to the back, since it's back to front, right to the back, to the end of the file. You remember this file?
Yes, Your Honor, I remember
and the
this
issue.
file.
All right, just tell us what happened in this matter. Under what circumstances did you give Ports Authority land to Gambia International Milling Corporation, which became the Gambia Milling Corporation?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I remember the management of International Milling Corporation wrote to the ports.
The management of?
International Milling Corporation. I think Mr. Bassi himself wrote to us. I remember receiving a letter, 2010, signed by him to us, for us to consider apportioning some land space to the Milling Corporation for them to build professional structures there. I think when I got the letter, we first discussed its content. And management was of the view that because of, our operational space was heavily constrained. We didn't have any space because Port of Banjul, is too small. we wrote back to him to deny him. We didn't provide approval for him. We didn't provide approval for the provision of the land space for him to build the mill. We wrote back to him instantly. I was of the view that perhaps he was not happy with the response from the courts. He engaged the office of the president. And then I think he wrote back again to us. If I can remember, I think the letter was copied to the office of the president. Then when we received it, I thought that to do justice to his submission, maybe let me establish a task force. Despite the fact that, we had already had some relationship in relation to things that are necessary about the mill.
So you established a task force over the
I
matter?
established a task force, yes, to look at the request, which they did, and they submitted a report. I think we had asked him, we wrote to him to say that they must establish or carry out an EIA, an environmental
impact
assessment exercise. See what are the implications, both the report and also the location. You are talking about Banjul South, because I felt uneasy that it is perhaps not good to locate a flour mill in that part of Banjul. Not only its prospective reports, but I always felt that there might be contaminants or pollutants.
Did he carry out the environment?
He ignored our request that he carries out.
He ignored your request to carry out an environmental impact assessment.
We even attacked the report of the task force, but he ignored our request, and I think he proceeded to use the office of the president for them to beat down our neck to approve the request.
Sorry, he used the office of the president?
Because
sorry,
what we write to him,
yes.
When he writes to us, we will copy to the office of the president. When we do so, we will write to him, copy to the office of the president. And there was a time the office of the president intervened to say that approval is given and I should apportion the land space to the milling corporation, and that they have agreed that they will compensate the ports.
So you are saying the ports management denied him the land space, and the office of the president intervened and said you should apportion him a space?
Yes, yes, Your Honor. And that he will pay some compensation to the ports for the loss of that land space. I think when we valued the land space at the time, it was around $18 million. Again, just like the Balajari ferry, he failed to honor and did not compensate to accordingly, despite the fact that I've been writing to him severally for him to honor what was agreed. He never paid. He never complied.
He never paid.
In fact, when I was watching on TV, the commission.
Now, Mr. Bazi had given evidence on this issue before you came, and he said words to the effect that really the position, the port had taken that position because you didn't like him. I'm just putting it to you, and you are creating difficulties. But they had compensated the ports by paving an area of the ports.
Really, Your Honor, I'm not surprised if Mr. Bazi holds the view that I do not like him. He's a guy who doesn't wish to follow due process. He's a guy who hardly respects rules and regulations or even corporate governance issues. It didn't surprise me because for me, during my tenure of office, any matter or issue which either revolves around the institution that I work for, or the public interest or national interest, I am always prepared to investigate to perform my duties, you know, with professionalism. If I'm of the view that, you know, it serves the national interest. So I'm not surprised if he says that, because several times he has misrepresented me to the office of the president. And when cases are investigated, or maybe when the president checks on with me, he realized that he was misled by him. So I'm not surprised what he said.
Mr. Jiba, did...
I don't bear any grudge.
Mr. Jiba, it's all right. I'm more focused really on the issue of compensation. Did you agree with Gambia International Milling Corporation at any point that they should pave any part of the ports as compensation for this land whilst you were managing director?
If the facts, because initially it was $18 million. Did they make a request that they, instead of paying the money, they would like to carry out payment of the area? Because I want to know, because whether at that time I was at the Social Security. Because I seem to be at a loss. Maybe it must have...
Well, he says they did not agree. In other words, they did not agree to compensate you in the sum of $18 million, if I understood what he was saying, or any other sum. In fact, what they did was to develop another area for the Navy.
When they objected to the idea of paying compensation of the 80 million, did they put in writing that they would wish to pay?
No, you can't ask me questions. Did that happen, or did that not happen when you were there?
Because I have difficulty in remembering receiving a letter from them suggesting that instead of compensating the 18 million, they would like to carry out the pavement of the area.
You can't remember any such
remember.
Alternative compensation?
Your Honor, I can't remember.
Did you ever discuss this 18 million compensation with Mr. Mohamed Bazi?
No, the issue of compensation arose when the president intervened to say that after all he's going to compensate you for the loss of the space. And I had never had any personal discussion with Mohamed Bazi except through writing.
Except in writing?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Did you know, I'll show you exhibits MS-52. This is a lease of the said land by the Minister responsible for lands on behalf of the government of the Gambia to Gambia Milling Corporation, MS-52. Were you aware that the portion of land in question was leased out to Gambia Milling Corporation subsequently?
Your Honor, at that time I was at the Gambia Post Authority from Social Security, and I'm not aware.
Were you ever consulted by the Ministry of Lands about the leasing of that area to Gambia Milling Corporation?
No, Your Honor. I was never consulted.
That's all I have for Mr. Jiba.
Mr. Jiba, do you remember taking ownership of Navy land? Or was that while you were at Social Security?
Can you repeat the question, Your Honor?
Navy land.
Navy land?
Yes. Does Navy land belong to the GPA?
I don't know what the bylaws will say, but I was made to understand it belongs to the ports, but maybe we will check to find out. Maybe that's confirmation will have to be needed. But when I was there, I had a belief that part of the Navy belongs to the ports, but I might be proven wrong.
So the answer is no, you don't know?
I don't know, sir.
Thank you.
Any more counsel on this witness?
Questions for Mr. Jiba.
Very well, you may go now. You may leave now.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I call Mr. Edward Graham.
Ah, that's new. New. Witness.
I swear by the Almighty Allah
I swear by the Almighty Allah
that the evidence I shall give to this commission
that the evidence I shall give to this commission
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
but the truth.
So help me Allah.
So help me Allah.
You can wait for instructions.
Can you state your full names to the commission, please? Can you state your names to the commission?
Edward Graham is my name.
Where do you live, Mr. Graham?
Kololi.
You are Managing Director, Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation.
Yes, Your Honor.
For how long?
As Managing Director,
Yes.
from 2010, that October 2010 to December 2010, and from August 2012 to March 2017, this year.
Would you like to sit down?
Yes, please. Thank you.
October 2010 to December 2010. Could you kindly repeat those dates? October 2010, you said, to December 2010.
Yes, October 2010 to December 2010, and then 22nd of August 2012 to the 7th of March 2017.
Before you became Managing Director, where did you work?
I worked briefly at the defunct GPTC, Gambia Public Transport Corporation, in 1979.
Sorry, before you became Managing Director in October 2010, where you were at Social Security and Housing
Since
Finance?
1982, yes.
From 1982.
Since September 1982.
Okay, can you tell us what office you held before you became Managing Director?
In 1982, I was appointed as the accounting assistant. In 1984, I was promoted to assistant accountant. In 1987, I was promoted to accountant. 1992, I was promoted to senior accountant, and the position was later changed to finance manager. In 1987, I was promoted to senior finance manager. And in 2004, I was promoted to director of finance. In 2007, I was promoted to deputy managing director. 2010, October 2010, I was promoted to managing director, and I was relieved of my services on the 31st of December 2010, and we engaged in August 2012 to March 2017.
Between October 2010 and December 2010, your first stint as managing director,
Yep.
did you receive any instructions from the Office of the President to spend Social Security funds?
I can't remember whether I received instructions because it was just 2.5 months. So I can't remember.
Because?
It was only 2.5 months I was at the position.
Okay. Now, a great deal of money, huge sums of money were expended from the National Provident Fund, Federated Pension Scheme, and the Injuries Compensation Fund during the period when you were there, and of course during the period of your predecessors. You came back, you said, on the 20th of August 2012.
Yep.
The first transaction in regard to spending from the National Provident Fund, I would like you to explain to us, if you can. It's a transaction dated the 27th of September concerning a loan facility of 15 million. I'll show you exhibits SC20.
Is it 15 million?
$15 million is
Yes, please.
for the purchase of rams from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. I will show you SC20. Show him. This is a letter from the Office of the Secretary General addressed to Managing Director, which is yourself at the time,
Yes, Your Honor.
and signed by Dr. Njogu Ba, which states that, I quote, I have the honor to request on behalf of the Office of the President a loan facility of 15 million for the purchase of rams from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania in preparation for the upcoming Tobaski feast. They said the loan is repayable within 3 months after the complete sale of the rams. The said amount can be deposited to the following account, and an account is giving MRI Presidential Project. On the same day, instructions were given by Wansei Batufal and Abdullah Cham for this amount to be paid by the Trust Bank. You were managing director at this time.
Yes, I was the managing director at that time, and from what I've said earlier on, I was just reappointed on the 22nd of August, and I actually took office on the 24th. That's the time my predecessor handed over to me.
You took over office on?
Pardon?
On what date, sorry, you took over?
24th of August.
24th,
Even though my
yes.
letter stated 22nd, but I took over on the 24th.
Yeah, but this is the 27th we're
Yes,
talking about. Yes.
that's what I just want to relate. It was just 3 weeks. I was trying to, get my balance, to go through all what has been transpired during my 2 years of absence. So that's why I'm aware they sent it to me, but I asked the deputy managing director and the team that were there before I arrived to go ahead and, as usual, and whilst I try to, get back my balance in the corporation.
What does that mean, go ahead as usual?
To go ahead with the directive, because what happened before...
To comply with the directive.
Yes, to comply with the directive.
Just like that, to comply.